Okay. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Just a quick video today. Couple of things. President Trump said he's going to put a 100% tariff on all foreign-made films, which is causing a lot of consternation in the UK because a lot of films are made in the UK. Personally, I've got patients who work in the film industry in the UK. I think worst case scenario, they're going to have to move to America to carry on. Or, I don't know, perhaps something will happen. But I think America's waking up to the fact that they've actually got a bit of a loose cannon as president, you know. The key word to look out for is 4D chess. If you can't explain why someone is doing something and it appears to be completely mad, random, then the supporters of that person or that procedure or process will say that they're playing 4D chess. In other words, they know what they're doing, but it's in they're working in another dimension that you're not aware of. And so, you know, while it might look mad to you, it is completely sane, logical and rational. And they don't know that. They just hope that. And they just hope that you'll believe that and stop criticizing what are apparently mystifying movements. And so, you know, the sort of proponents of Trump, and I've been a proponent of Trump in the past, pre-tariff. I mean, I think tariff is the biggest mistake he's ever made, and I think it's the mistake that will bring him down over the next 6 months. But is to say he's playing 4D chess with things like tariffs on the film industry. He's been put under pressure by Hollywood because Hollywood is losing the battle to make films, and also losing there's far more money goes into computer games now than there ever did into films, and so it's an industry that's in decline, you know. And but Trump, being a collectivist, thinks that he's only got to have a quick think about how things should be organised and make it so, you know. Anyway, the reason why the Hollywood's losing out to the UK is that UK provides massive tax incentives for firms to come and make films in the UK. And that got me thinking, well, how many other industries have massive tax incentives? Like, you know, there have been tax incentives in terms of reduced rates for hospitality industry. There were tax incentives for motor vehicle industry when there was like a trade-in. You could get money off the government if you're trading in your car for a new. There's tax incentives for the restaurants where they would pay a certain amount of your restaurant bill. There are tax incentives amounting to hundreds of millions of pounds, I'm sure, for the film industry, which is why the film industry is here. And there were tax incentives for Pfizer when it moved to Discovery Park in Ramsgate, because the collieries shut down, the Aylsham and Snowdown collieries, and so the European Union classified it as a deprived area. In fact, it probably wasn't that deprived. In fact, it's probably more deprived now than it was then. But in those days, it was like, from the European Union, it was like, well, you have $100 million. You have $100 million. We'll give $100 million to the Italians for their wine vaults, $100 million to the French for their cheesemakers. And we give $100 million to attract business to East Kent because of these two non-productive and unprofitable coal mines closing down. They treated it in the same way as they would have done if it had been a major colliery, like a Nottinghamshire colliery or something. And so Pfizer, because it was attracted by the free money, decided to set up their global headquarters here. And this is where they invented Viagra. Made a lot of people very happy. And in the same way as the Swiss were giving away tax incentives, and that's why AutoCAD moved their global headquarters to Switzerland. And it's a bit rough on the employees, because you've got a load of employees that used to work in Guildford, then have to relocate to Switzerland, and they've got to decide whether to learn French or German or both. And then after 10 years or so, AutoCAD decides to relocate its office somewhere else. So they're all located somewhere else. Hopefully somewhere reasonable like Ireland or something. And the other thing that's happened today is that the government, UK government, has decided to invest another £100 million in GP surgeries. West Streeting said that he inherited a situation where people couldn't see a doctor. Yes, it's a traffic island. It's a traffic island. Honestly, I don't think we've got anything to worry about AI. So yeah, loads of people couldn't see a doctor, and loads of doctors couldn't get a job. So he decided the only thing that was stopping the two getting together was the thing that stopped the two getting together, which is lack of money. So he decided to solve that problem by basically, and he justified it on the telly this morning, taking away people's winter fuel allowance and putting up employers' national insurance, and then using that money to spend or invest. They always say invest in the National Health Service. I'm very firmly of the opinion that as much money has been invested in the NHS is necessary. It's already been invested, but that's the trouble, isn't it? The people who think that you need money to solve problems, when those problems aren't solved, always ask for more money and say that the problem was that they just didn't put enough money in, and because it's throwing good money after bad money after bad, basically. So where's the money for the GDP practices? Where's the acknowledgement that more than people complaining that they can't get a doctor are people complaining that they can't get a dentist? Where's the £100 million going into NHS dentists? And it's, as I say, it's not like they're in a desperate situation here, and they've got no choice but to invest. They're splashing money around. It's coming in and it's splashing out again. And if it strikes me that it would go a long way towards solving the dental crisis in this country if the government did stick 100 million or a couple of 100 million into dentistry. That's practically the whole ruddy budget these days. They could double the budget within the sort of the parameters of what they give away to other industries. Everybody's in line for a handout except for the one thing that everybody's complaining about, which is the fact they can't get a dentist. Now, personally, you're saying, all right, okay, Angry, yeah, that's a bit hypocritical. You just said stop solving things by splashing the cash. But in fact, I think the problem in dentistry is that the NHS pays for dentistry so much below the market rate that's why dentists won't work on the NHS, because they can just get the market rate in the market. And so moving the NHS fees somewhat towards the market rate, they don't even have to close the whole gap. They probably have to treble or quadruple the dental budget to close the gap completely. And that wouldn't do me any good, because if they suddenly announced that they doubled the dental budget and they were going to start paying, I don't know, £100 a UDA or something, that's a unit of dental activity, if you're not dentists out there, then we'd be in doo-doo. At least in the short term, because that would free up a tremendous amount of capacity on the NHS. And a lot of dentists who are by choice not doing much NHS, but who could do more, would do more. And a lot of patients who come to see me only because they can't get in on the NHS would very quickly be able to get back in on the NHS. Now, I don't think that would affect me quite so much, because my patients don't come and see me merely because they can't get NHS. I mean, a lot of them can't, especially the ones who are going to ring today and say, can you, do you do NHS? But my patients generally come and see me because they appreciate having more time devoted to them and better quality materials and better quality lab work. So it would affect me a bit, but not much. But it would certainly go a long way towards solving the dentistry shortage amongst the great unwashed. So why don't they do it? Why are we the only industry that isn't having hundreds of millions of pounds chucked at it in subsidy? I mean, I think given the choice, most people would rather have an NHS dentist than know that Pinewood Studio was producing American films. And what their priorities are different, aren't they? But I don't know. But I suppose the film industry is very influential. They've got all the stars. And oh, there's a robin sitting over there. Hang on a second. Oh, I can't. I might try and get a quick picture of him. All right. See you soon. Bye.